Welcome back, new upper day video, and I'm happy because I blended 2 pounds of watermelon into that bottle. So to me, my priority when I take a pre-workout meal, especially when I do a workout in the morning, is to first not be hungry. This is the most important thing. If you feel hungry, you're not going to be as performant. Do something that's not too heavy, of course, and 3, some quick acting carbs. So this morning I had some Greek yogurt with some honey and some berries just to not be hungry and to have something light that I can digest fast with some carbs. And during my workout, I'm going to be drinking a watermelon with some lemon juice and some ice cubes. So yeah, no hunger, quick acting carbs, everything we need. And also there is half a spoon of the electrolyte mix on which I did a tutorial last video. And it was funny because at the end of the last video, I told you that I had a tendency as a child to look out the window and to daydream. And during the electrolyte tutorial, at the end of every cut, I was just looking out at the window. So yeah, some things never change, that's for sure. I'm doing some pose fly. I never do them. I often do some pose presses, but I never do some post flies, so why not give it a shot? Plus I switch splits. Now I do upper lower 6 times a week, upper lower rests with 1 exercise per movement pattern. So 1 fly, 1 incline press, 1 sagittal plane pull, 1 frontal plane pull, 1 lateral raise, probably 1 OHP, 1 bicep curl and 1 tricep, and I'm talking about sets. So 1 set per exercise. I just want to give it a shot. I don't know how long I'm going to do that split, but I like the idea of having only 1 shot to do things and to really focus on form, on progress, and also having first sets 3 times a week sounds great to me. So yeah, I'm going to do that. Also something that is quite appealing with the 6 times a week upper lower and with the fact that I'm only doing 1 set per movement is that I can quickly go through exercises, because I realized that most of the time I was doing nothing during my workouts was between 2 sets of the same exercise. Whereas here, for example, I can warm up, do my 1 set and then go straight into the other one. I mean, not straight because you have to restore your ATP stores and just let your heart rate go down a little bit, but everything is way much quicker. Yesterday I did an amazing leg day, many PRs, everything was great, and I was done in 35 minutes, I believe, plus 4 hours. So it's really fun. And one thing that's really underrated, I think, is selecting exercises on whether it takes long to warm up or not. At least for me, it's way longer to warm up for a close grip lat pull down than it is for a pullover, for example, although they both work the lats. So it's a cool way to gain time. It's a cool way to spread roughly the length of your workouts per week. And yeah, so I was unhappy the other day because I wanted to go to the gym, but I couldn't find my keys and I couldn't find them for at least 20 minutes. I was pissed because I was like, I'm wasting my concentration, I'm wasting my time on doing something that is so silly, but I had to find them because otherwise I would not be able to close my door and to go away. But then I was like, this is familiar. I'm recognizing a pattern, and it was like doom scrolling. It's just that when we doom scroll, we get gratified almost every 5 seconds, whereas when we look for our keys, for example, we only get gratified once we find the keys. And when we scroll aimlessly on the phone, it's like we're always looking for something, searching for something. It could be distraction, it could be 1 insight, it could be 1 tip that could make our lives better. Don't get me wrong, we learn a lot of things that way today, but when we scroll and we learn things, we get the illusion that we are moving in life because we are learning new things. So we feel like we are expanding in some way. We have this feeling of becoming something without having to live life, because we can basically outsource our lives to other people who then tell the stories. So we think we are growing, learning things, but I think what's really happening is like we are on a treadmill. We learn new things, but also our focus shifts. So we forget all the old things that we learned. It's like we have a giant spotlight and we are zooming on things and we feel like we are moving forward, but we are just also eliminating the rest at the same time. But yeah, it feels nice because there is all these new ideas coming to us, but all these ideas, although they feel nice, are probably going to end up in the same graveyard of unused ideas, insights we never used, useful things we never dared to test in the real world. So yeah, when you scroll aimlessly, ask yourself, what are you looking for? If you find it, are you going to use it? And are you really moving forward, or are you just shifting your focus and chasing just what's new? So I saw some pictures of Erling Haaland floating around the internet, and one of those was him raw dogging a flight for 7 hours, no screens, no water, and it made me laugh because this is what I naturally do. Like if it's daytime and I have a window seat, there is no way I'm looking at the screen. I'm just wired that way. But it made me think how I would never understand people who purposefully choose the aisle seat. You see, back in the day we had this desire to discover things, to map out the world, to explore, to see a mountain and be like, I wonder how is life behind this mountain? How's the view on top? Is there something that I cannot even imagine, some unexplored land? Maybe there is more resources. Maybe I can go there and live a better life. And I want to know it so bad that I'm willing to leave some safety behind, some comfort, most of what is familiar to me, just for the sake of discovery and because there might be something better out there. And this is what made us discover Australia 50 to 65,000 years ago with some log rafts, roughly 60,000 years before we started writing things down. This is why we find people in Siberia or in deserts or in the middle of the jungle. This is what made us agree to lose sight of shore and to sail and to never see the ground for months just because we want to know more about Earth. And you're telling me that today we have the opportunity to be 30,000 feet up in the air inside an aluminum box with the possibility to see hundreds of mountain tops at the same time, to see what the clouds look like from above, to literally live what was once a wild dream that was totally out of reach. Some people still choose the aisle seat because it's more convenient to take a piss. To me, not at least trying to get the window seat is a total spiritual defeat. I feel like I would get cursed by all my ancestors and get struck by lightning. No, it's nice to be outside. No, there is this quote that not wanting something is as good as having it. For example, if I want a Lamborghini and I get it, I will end up in the same place in terms of happiness than if I don't want it in the first place, which is very true in many ways. We should be very careful when we pick what we want or not, because when we want something and we don't have it yet, there is some tension, we are not really at peace. Then can you apply that to everything? Can you just not want everything and be happy? For example, I don't want a Lamborghini, so good for me. I don't want a home gym, good for me. And I think the answer is no. There are some things that you cannot really think away, that you cannot just not desire. You can refuse to want a Lamborghini and it's great because then you don't think about it and you don't have that tension. You're not basically a certain shade of unhappy until you get that. For example, when I was fat, it was impossible to just accept my body and to feel great. Like the version of me that is fit will always be happier in that regard than the exact same version that is not fat. Also health, you cannot really ignore how you feel. You cannot just not desire to be healthy. So there is this whole realm of things that you can just refuse to desire. But there is also all this realm of things that are almost impossible to think away, to not be dependent of. Like even the wisest people ever get bitter once they get unhealthy. And to me, what a simple life means is focusing on things that you cannot replace, that you cannot think away, which is basically health, having enough money, feeling good in your body, having good relationships, and being very selective of everything you can just refuse to desire. Because of course, some of them are worth it. Like life is really rich, we want to have a full experience, but it can also be overwhelming, and desiring everything is just a recipe for unhappiness. You're just going to get pulled in every direction and you're not going to be able to give cool things the attention they deserve. So yeah, you get the idea. There is no replacement for the sun. There is no replacement for a good body, a healthy one. There is no replacement for good relationships. And there is no way around that. As smart as you are, as wise as you are, some things can just not be replaced. So back in the posing room, as usual, the pump is okay. I will see if the 2 pounds of watermelon did some wonder on my physique or not. If I am able to give the illusion that I'm bigger than I am, but let's see. The physique is okay. I got a slight tan, but I don't know if you can see it because of the white balance and all of that. I slightly bumped up my calories because it was really hard to sustain it. I'm in a place right now where I'm really hungry, maybe because I move more, etc. So I bumped up my calories because it makes it more unlikely that I cheat on my diet, which is also a parameter. If you take a deficit that's unsustainable, you are more likely to cheat on your diet, and thus maybe the overall deficit can be less important. Whereas if you choose, for example, a smaller deficit, then it's more unlikely that you cheat on your diet, that you feel the need to do it, and the overall energy balance is in your favor. So this is something to keep in mind. And this extra 300 calories that I eat right now, so I went from 3,300 to 36, will give me more energy, will be the little snack that I can eat before going to bed, will be all these small thing that is not a lot, but that makes all the difference. So yeah. So it was a cool workout, one set per movement, and yeah, probably a talk right now, and hope you enjoy the workout, and see you right now. So I was reading the news and I saw that Microsoft just went through another round of layoffs at Xbox. And in the report, they said that sometimes there were up to 14 layers of middle management between the developers and the final product. Yes, 14 layers. This is a comically large number. In French, we have a saying that says plus c'est gros, plus ça passe, which translates to the bigger, the more outrageous something is, the more likely it is that we accept it in some way. And when I read about the 14 layers of middle management, I was like, how amazing it is that we are individuals. Could you imagine going through those 14 layers of middle management in our day-to-day life? But you probably guessed where I'm going with it. I feel like sometimes we act as if we were those billion-dollar companies, but only in the worst way possible. It's like we take the worst of both worlds. We act or do not act at all because of fear, as if we were gambling with millions of dollars. We avoid bold choices as if everyone was watching. And at the end of all of that, we end up with a lukewarm life. We settle with the lukewarm path instead of the bold choice we are supposed to make. So we act like those big companies, as if every risk can be huge, as if everyone is watching, as if every decision has a lot of weight, without the upside of having the resources of a billion-dollar company. I just wanted to talk to you about the huge gift of being individuals and how to milk that advantage as much as we can. So first, being an individual comes with the gift of being able to go fast. I've said it many times on this channel, but I truly think that speed is one of the most underrated traits we can adopt. Spending just less time in hesitation, trying to make the gap between an idea and the execution as small as possible, or at least being able to do that. You see, most of us go through life overthinking the worst case scenario, spending too much time weighing pros and cons, treating every decision like it's irreversible. We move like we have the inertia of 1,000 people. And what I mean by inertia is that we feel heavy in some way. Like, one of the laws of inertia is that the heavier an object is, the harder is it to get it moving, but also the harder it is to stop it. And I think a good way to act with as little hesitation as possible while still making good decisions overall is to try to make ourselves as light as possible, meaning that we should aim for easy movements. We should try to act immediately when we are inspired. When we miss someone, we should call them directly. When we have a burst of energy to work out or to do whatever requires that energy. But also when we get lighter, it's also easier to stop things that are already in movement. And when we act with speed, we can stop doing harmful things, even if they have been going on for years, even if it feels coherent with the past. So if we take that analogy, to me, peak human performance is being light, fast between ideas and actions, but equally fast when it comes to stopping doing wrong things or just things that are no longer serving you. And it sounds like something that's way easier said than done, which is in some way true. Like, it's typically something that's simple but not easy. But I think it's also just an extra way to judge our actions. Instead of just focusing on whether we do the right things or not, we should also try to find some gratification on how quickly we acted, because acting quick is more often than not serving us. Don't get me wrong, sometimes you have to think about things and take your time, of course, but usually it's action that creates the information we need. And this hesitation is more often than not rumination or just the consequence of a lack of courage. And every reflection, every feedback is always improved when we take action and we get all the information we could not have gotten otherwise. The second thing is that as individuals, we have the freedom to have little to lose. See, we are wired to overweight failure. See, during evolution, thinking we were right and eventually being wrong often meant death. So the trait to play it safe was heavily selected during evolution. But today we have more safety and the cost of failure is not that harsh anymore. But we are still wired the same way. So when we feel fear, we should just ask ourselves, what am I really fearing? What's the worst case scenario? If the worst case scenario happens, will I be able to bounce back? And most of the times, yeah, absolutely. We just overthink the worst case scenario and make it way harsher than it actually is. And what is at the other side of that is that then we can allow ourselves to fail over and over again, to correct and to finally have that one win to make up for all the failures. Because in reality today, when we do the right actions, it's the opposite of what we evolve with. Usually failures cause very little and the wins are just immense. So accepting failure and realizing that it's not that bad actually is the path to finally get the one win to make up for all your mistakes. Usually when we have that fear of failure, it always goes back to the fear of how people will see us. Most of the fear we have are usually solvable in our heads. So yeah, you get the idea. Take advantage of the fact that as an individual, most of the things that are coming to stop you are coming from yourself. Yes, of course, you might have responsibilities, you might have a family, you might have to put food on the table, of course, but this is not something you have to apply to every aspect of your life. It's just about moving the needle in the right spot and just being aware of it. Yeah, just realizing that we have this inherent bias towards fearing failure, that in reality we can get away with way much more than we think. And the last thing we should absolutely take advantage of as individuals is trust. You see, trust usually works like this. Past behavior predicts future behavior. So you slowly build a trust with people through consistent actions. A company builds trust with many good products in a row. And if, let's say, a video game company has made 10 good games, the 11th one is probably going to be good. So this is probably the safest and the most accurate way to know if we should trust something or not. But this does not fully apply to yourself, because if you are human, you have probably failed over and over again at the same thing. Maybe you have been delaying what you actually want for years and years. Maybe you've been lying to people about your situation. Maybe you've been sabotaging yourself. Could be anything. And on paper, no outsider would bet on you changing today, because your past behavior does not point in that direction. And they are right in some way. And this is where we have the edge as individuals. Because the only way out of this endless streak of defeat is to bet on ourselves, although our track record suggests that we are probably going to fail. But as I said earlier, we have not much to lose. One day you have to trust yourself when other people shouldn't. Nothing is physically stopping you from canceling the debts today. And we should also accept that other people do not believe in us because we are just simply not playing with the same rules. They are judging us based on our past behaviors. We are judging ourselves based on things that they're never going to be able to see. And of course, this is not easy. You cannot just forgive yourself like that, because if you don't truly believe it, it can be just another way to escape reality and just to feel good about yourself without earning it. But if you truly believe it and you see that there is a way out, just bet on yourself. No one is watching you and this is the only way out. You have to make that delusional bet when no sane outsider would bet on you. And if you have that voice that tells you that it's not that simple, that there is no such an easy way out, if it were that easy, then people would know all this self-harm that has been accumulated for years has to be compensated by something extraordinary, maybe a drastic event, maybe something huge. The same rationality that tells you that should also tell you that there is no physical reason why you cannot cancel that debt today. There is no physical reason why you cannot act right now. All that is complicated and all that overthinking is usually downstream of habits and a lack of courage. So yeah, to conclude, don't play with the same rules as big groups do, or as you play with other people. The relationship you have with yourself is not the same that you have with anyone else. And I won't say the cliche phrase that you are your own best friend. What I'm saying is that you can have a relationship with yourself that you cannot find anywhere else. You can take advantage of gifts that no one else can give you. When you are alone with yourself, it should be a cozy place almost. You should be happy to be with someone that you can trust regardless of the past. You should be happy to be with someone that can make quick decisions. You should be happy to be with someone that plays with different rules. See, when you start to develop a relationship with your individuality, you realize that you can act quick and that you lived probably most of your life in hesitation. And that hesitation was usually downstream of the lack of courage you have. But then you realize that you have more courage than you think, but also the things are not as bad as they seem. And And usually that lack of courage delays action forever and forever. And then we end up with years of failure. But we have to end those years of failure with reconciliating ourselves with what makes us individuals, and by canceling the debt, by trusting ourselves in a way that no one else can. Anyway, just being one person is a gift, and we should use that as much as we can. Thanks for watching. See ya.